Okay guys, I think it finally happened. We actually have two builds that are kind of related. So if you like caffeine and camping, stick around. Welcome back, Terraria fans, to another World Tour video. Guys, in this one, yes, we actually have some builds that are kind of related, and I'm hoping I can keep the relatability up. Anyways, in this video, we have two interesting builds, and the first one is a Starbucks build, hence the caffeine comment at the beginning. And again, it's not a exact replica of a Starbucks, but I thought it was an interesting kind of take on a sort of coffee shop slash Starbucks. The second build, guys, is a mountain camp. Now, I had this one in my head for quite a while. It turned out pretty good. I actually do like it. I'm embarrassed to say that making the actual tent part of that build was hard. It took me way longer than it should have. So that was yeah, that was not great. Now, should you derive any kind of pleasure while I embarrass myself trying to build in Terraria, well, then you're going to want to do that live. And come check me out on Twitch, guys. Link is down below. You can do so every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. for Terraria, or other games every day of the week except for Wednesdays and Sundays. And speaking of embarrassing, you know what's not embarrassing is hitting that like and subscribe button, guys. It helps me out a lot, and I do appreciate it. Now, all those plugs out of the way, guys, let's get to what you're here for. Some builds. All right, folks, so as always, before we get into our build, let's walk through some of the materials. So for our Starbucks slash coffee shop build, you're going to need a variety of different blocks. Now, again, some of the blocks that are perhaps most interesting are going to be our pumpkin wall, which again, we are obviously going to be using along with our pumpkin to make an umbrella, which you will see in this build. Additionally, we do use some silly green balloon, some green team block, which I do not use ever, and you'll see exactly where this is in the build as well, followed by a variety of different fences, and some Red Dynasty shingles, and then some more balloon wall here. This is our purple balloon wall. Yeah, nothing too crazy, guys. As always, I invite you to pause the video here if there's any materials that you're unfamiliar with, or if you just need to get a better look at it. Now, with the materials covered, let's go check out our build. So here we are at our sort of Starbucks build. As you can see, guys, we started here on the side with an umbrella. This technique that I'm using seems to be working well for me. So use a logic gate, a logic sort of posts or rods or whatever these are called, and then we put our pumpkin on top along with a pumpkin wall in the background. Now, in this one, we used a sort of neon sort of green. So this is, I believe, a lime green or green paint along with some white. It looks pretty good. We also put some Dynasty sofas here just to kind of, I guess, add a little bit to the outdoor seating area. Now, for the coffee shop itself, guys, I think it's actually quite quaint and feels like a coffee shop to me. So we went with a sort of very basic design initially. This is actually our silly green balloon. So we actually made the whole framing of our house out of the green silly balloon painted white. I never do this. This rounded edge sort of I don't love. I initially added some walls here to cover up that gap. You may not notice it, but I kind of do. I also tried to add the wall and connect it in, but then we had the same problem. So I just figured I would go with this, and I actually don't mind it. The bend here is also a little bit wonky to my eye because I'm used to seeing everything as sort of right angles in Terraria. But again, it's different. I wanted to try it out, and I actually do like kind of the way it sort of turned out overall. We also went with our sort of fence trick here where we put a mahogany fence and then insert the boreal fence and connect the top again with the mahogany. And what it does is kind of give you this sort of fat to skinny look, and it just has a little bit of a different look to it, and I do really like it. In the main area, I really like the way this table looks. It looks like this is where you actually order your coffee. Of course, it'd be nice if there was, you know, someone in the background, but that's not how this works. But we tried to make a large standing area here where you would order your drinks. Put a little teapot, some, Dynasty cups painted white, and a little piggy bank as if you would pay. We also made our own little menu where we didn't actually write anything, but except for when we built this. And of course, we also have different selections for the menu. So I thought it was a really cool idea. We also then added glass and some wall in the background, some wood wall in the background, along with some palm wood for the vertical pieces. So it's a very clean build, guys, very simple. There's not a lot to really show here other than just sort of the design. Now, for the sign that obviously stands out quite a bit, this is, I believe, mahogany or ebonwood painted white, and we just made the spelling out as we needed. And then we made this kind of weird random design with our green team block. This is obviously where we use this. I never use this otherwise, but it kind of fits well, I think. And I couldn't really recreate the Starbucks design or logo, but I just kind of went with my own, and I think this fits the build fairly well. Finally, the upstairs, guys, is our sort of brewing room. The idea here was to have sort of a furnace that this is meant to be kind of coffee beans where they're getting roasted. And then over here is where it's getting processed. So we used a vat and a steampunk boiler, and it's dripping down and you're just putting it into a barrel. The idea was to keep it quite simple, guys. Again, thematically, we could have added some other stuff here, maybe another picture or something, but I wanted to keep it quite clean and make this sort of the same thing. And then we have two little coffee cups up here that, again, are our Dynasty cups painted white. So there's our Starbucks tribute, guys. I do like it quite a bit. It's very simple. It didn't take me that long to build, and it's a bit more minimalist in some ways, but if you're looking for something to sort of add as a hub perhaps to one of your worlds, I think this might actually be a pretty good idea. Now, if you do want to see this as a speed build, guys, that video is already up on the channel, so I do encourage you to go check that out after you have seen this video in its entirety. All right, with that said, let us move on to our second build. All right, folks, so here we are at our second build. This is our mountain camp build, and to build this you're going to need a whack of different materials, but again, guys, nothing too crazy. A lot of these materials are actually for just sort of the background and the stonework, and of course some leaves. So crimson scab wall is going to be painted green oftentimes along with the leaf wall, and that'll be our leaves. And then we have some ebon sandstone wall for our trees, and we also then use some iridescent brick wall for the actual sort of main structure, and then some pink tiled wall and some living wood wall. Nothing too crazy. We did make use of some living wood platforms, some sail, which I don't always use, some blue brick, some mudstone brick, and both the stone slab and the stone accent slab. We also used some brown moss that we may have painted green in a few places, but not everywhere. So as always, I encourage you to pause the video here should you want to take a closer look at the materials used. If you have any questions about what I did use, please let me know in the comments down below, and I will tell you exactly what I used for this build. So with the materials covered, let's move to our mountain camp. So here we are, guys. Here is our mountain camp. As you can see, we have a variety of different things going on. We try to make this look like a sort of 3D step into the entrance of our sort of abandoned keep, I suppose. That's at the top of this little mountain. We added some of our moss here, and this is unpainted, along with some structure here, just to kind of make it look a little bit more, I guess, realistic. The background to this, guys, is that all this is actuated, so this is all pushed to the back. But here we have some slab, some stone slab, and some slab, accent slab, I should say, connected, so they kind of look like they're separate. We added some dungeon brick, also painted gray. We even added a bit of wood here. This is where we have some living wood wall. We then have our just normal wood wall going across. Just a variety of different elements and designs. All of it actuated, guys, so this actuation actually took me a good little bit of time. And then we added little sort of areas here where we added some thickness to the walls by inserting the accent slab wall, or accent slab brick, I should say, into the base of the wall. Again, nothing that's, I guess, planned out really, but does look pretty good. We also added some iridescent blocks here and there, just to kind of mix it up a little bit and give it a bit of a pattern just on the outsides here and here. Now for the tent, this took way longer than I care to admit. I don't know why, but it just did. This is the final sort of version that we settled on. I do like it. I wish the rope here was sort of going across and was sort of flatter. I initially moved this up, I believe, but I like the tree in the position it was. I didn't want the wall creeping through. And yeah, overall, I think we could have maybe made a couple adjustments, but this tent fits the bill. It's actually really simple when you look at it, but when I was building it, I just made so many different designs, and I never ended up liking any of them until I landed on this one. So here we have the sail coming across, and we just angled it off, and cut it off, I should say, with this wall along with some platforms that are hammered down. We then wanted a tree kind of coming out of the background. This tree I actually don't mind too much. I don't necessarily know if I love the living wood wall as much as the living mahogany, but we went with this for this build in particular. I think we could have maybe mixed and matched a bit, but not too bad. The trees are, like I said, coming along slowly. Now over here, guys, we actually have a little bit of variety. Here is where we have our living wood platforms. I thought it looked kind of interesting. Put that as a sort of fence, connected it in, added a little fireplace on some different stone, and then put a sail painted red for kind of look like we're drying some clothing and also cooking some fish. These are the Arapania banner and I believe a fish banner or flying fish banner, I can't remember which. This is painted brown to make it look like it's cooked. And yeah, it's a simple little thing, but it looks quite nice. For our little lake pond thing, I wanted to add some water features, so obviously we put a bunch of kelp, put a bunch of different plants in here, living plants, and just made it kind of a little bit deeper than I probably originally had it. But I wanted to have these little sort of waterfall features coming down because I thought it was a little more interesting. Now, initially I did add some of the waterfall wall in the background, but it was just too big and too bulky, and I didn't think it belonged. So we kind of kept that as it was. And then we actually added some of our craggy stone wall along with some other brick wall here. This is our dungeon brick wall, our green brick wall, I believe, just to kind of look like it's sort of actually been built in. Now with this tree, you can see the roots are a little bit better, how it connects has a little bit more of a 3D look, and the rest of the tree also doesn't look too shabby either. And then down here, guys, I wanted to continue that water feature and make it come down. So we kind of kept this pattern going. But as always, I have time constraints because I'm doing this on stream and I will not be online for 20 hours. I obviously have to do this in one sitting, so little landscaping things kind of fall a little to the wayside. But overall, guys, this build is one that I'm pretty happy with. It was sort of the design I was going for in my head, I think. I do like how we added this keep. I think we could have done a little bit different sort of design, maybe a little bit smaller, or maybe even crumbling a bit more might have been more interesting. But really like how the tent finally turned out and just the way the ambiance of all this area looks. So again, if you guys have any questions about this build, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I will definitely get back to you. All right, folks, so there you go. There are our builds for the day. I hope you like them as much as I do. Of course, if you have any questions, guys, please feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you have any suggestions for future builds, I am all ears, guys, because we like to build a variety of different things. So with all that being said, I hope to see you next time. As always, thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. We will see you in the next one.